Hello, my friend, and welcome to Something for Everybody. My name is Aaron Machbitz, and today is a solo episode of the podcast, and we are discussing tools to help you handle stress, anxiety, and nerves. So let's think about this question before we jump right in. How do you specifically think about stress, anxiety, and nerves? Because we know that the good life is not one in which we never experience high levels of stress or anxiety or nerves, or really try to eliminate it per se, because we know the old saying, no pressure, no diamonds, which really holds true. But what we want to do is get really good at using the energy of stress to our advantage and mitigating any potential harmful risks or effects. So the first step, we know that according to Kelly McGonigal and her great book, The Upside of Stress, how you perceive stress is actually the largest determining factor on how it might affect you. And in short, if you think life is challenging you to step up and give your best, you'll use that energy to do your best and feel energized. But on the other hand, if you think life is threatening you and your well-being, that stress will erode your health and you'll feel drained. So, quick check-in, very honest question. How are you perceiving the stressors in your life? As threats or as challenges? We have to choose wisely because either one will determine our life. In addition to trying to reframe our perspective on stress, which we'll get into a little bit more later, here's somewhat of a paradoxical way to start alleviating any potential chronic stress, right? You want to increase your levels of acute stress short term. Two ways to do that: physical exercise and short-term projects. For a variety of reasons, we know that engaging in a nice, intense little workout is one of the best ways to mitigate any lingering chronic stress you may be experiencing. And remember, if you're not exercising, you're effectively taking a stress pill every single morning. So deliberately stress, quote unquote, your body with a quick, acute bout of physical stress, aka a workout movement of any kind, and boom, you've made a dent in your chronic stress. Do that habitually and you might just wipe it out. Next, or secondly, you have short-term projects. Feeling stressed about something at work or in life or whatever it might be, get busy on a short-term project with a well-defined, doable, near-term goal. Create some opportunities for small wins, celebrate them, repeat. Although, yes, you may be increasing stress in the immediate term, you might just reduce it long term. And that's what we're really trying to think about with chronic stress. So I mentioned Kelly McGonigal above. Let me share more of some fantastic insights from her book, The Upside of Stress, that will dive a little bit deeper into my opening remarks about stress. Stress is what arises when something you care about is at stake. This definition is big enough to hold both the frustration over traffic and the grief over a loss. It includes your thoughts, emotions, and physical reactions when you're feeling stressed, as well as how you choose to cope with situations you describe as stressful. This definition also highlights an important truth about stress. Stress and meaning are inextricably linked. You don't stress about things you don't care about, and you can't create a meaningful life without experiencing some stress. So let me read that first part to you once again. Stress is what arises when something you care about is at stake. You don't stress about things you don't care about, and you can't create a meaningful life without experiencing some stress. Stress, right? The word is very pervasive in our culture. And the typical attitude associated with it is what we need to avoid or reduce at all costs. That's the perception we have of stress. I'm so stressed is rarely said like in the same tone as like, oh, that's awesome. They're not usually said in the same tone. But the fact is, we only feel stress when it's something we care about is at stake. This is known as the stress paradox. The presence of stress, rather than being a sign of something is wrong with our lives, can be a barometer for how engaged we are in activities that are meaningful to us. As McGonigal advises, if we want meaning in our lives, we need to welcome stress. We need to welcome stress. And then Psychologist Ali Crum also did some work with her colleagues, and they developed the stress mindset measure to access people's views of stress, right? So take a moment to look at the two stress mindsets where we're going to talk about. So think about these two stress mindsets and maybe which statements fit you, which bucket you fit into, which one you agree with more strongly. So here we go. Mindset number one, stress is harmful. Experiencing stress depletes my health and vitality. Experiencing stress debilitates my performance and productivity. Experiencing stress inhibits my learning and growth. The effects of stress are negative and should be avoided. That's mindset number one. Stress is harmful. Remember, keep in mind what you agree with, what you do in certain situations, how you perceive stress, right? What Kelly McGonigal says, right? How we perceive stress is super important, determines the harmful effects or not. So mindset number two is stress is enhancing. Experiencing stress enhances my performance and productivity. Experiencing stress improves my health and vitality. Experiencing stress facilitates my learning and growth. The effects of stress are positive and should be utilized. Of these two mindsets, stress is harmful is by far the most common. That's what we hear in our society the most. Stress is bad. Let's get rid of it, avoid it at all costs. And that's obviously not true, as we're seeing from this well-documented research. Crum and her colleagues have found that while most people can see some truth in both mindsets, there's still a view that stress is more harmful than helpful. Men and women don't differ, and age does not really predict mindset. And so most people are in this view like, yeah, I can see some benefit from each, but really stress is harmful. That's the mindset we need to get out of. We obviously need to adopt this number two mindset that stress is enhancing, because again, we go back up to this definition. Stress is what arises when something you care about is at stake. And if we feel the challenge of that stress can be enhancing, that I can learn and grow from this, then we can have the positive effects of this stress and we can perform well under pressure. We can feel our anxiety and be in that high arousal state and go perform at our best, and all these things that we're going to continue to talk about as we move forward. But that really brings me into the concept of self-talk. Because how we talk to ourselves is really how we're going to perceive this stress or these nerves or this anxiety in certain moments. And what you have to remember is the point of self-talk isn't to deceive yourself. The point is to direct yourself. You don't have to keep describing the negative situation. You already know what it is you're facing. If you let that negative voice say whatever it wants in tough times, it will keep reminding you how bad the situation is and all the things that are likely to go wrong because of it. This is when you have to take charge. You have to take charge and talk positively to yourself. Tell yourself how you want to feel, not how badly you already feel. Tell yourself what you want to have happen next instead of ruminating on what already happened. This will shift your focus. And we have to think about this type of self-talk when we're thinking about our mindset towards stress or nerves. What you focus on most tends to come about. Therefore, you want your self-talk directing your focus to the thoughts, actions, and results you do want, not what you don't want. You have to take control of your self-talk. Don't listen to yourself. Talk to yourself. Recognize that there is an ongoing battle taking place in your mind, and you must take an active role in this battle. That was taken from a great book called The Mental Game by Darren Donnelly. And really, to summarize all of that stuff that he said, don't listen to yourself. Talk to yourself. That's a huge distinction, especially when we're trying to perceive stress in an enhancing, growing type of way, which according to research from Ali Crum and Kelly McGonigal and all these people we've talked about, is the right approach to take, especially in a business, parent, sport, all these sorts of environments that we might be in where there is a lot of pressure or stress, or there's nerves, or there's things at the line, or there's things at stake, or whatever the case may be. And so now let's continue on with stress and the challenge response. Yes, the challenge response. Remember, we're not trying to get super calm when we feel stressed or nervous. It's all about embracing the energy we feel when we are stressed and using it as fuel for our performance, whatever domain we might be in. By having a positive relationship to our stress and approaching it with focus, but not fear, literally will change the underlying biology of our experience. That's incredible. Just taking control of that and the way we perceive it and the way we approach it, our relationship towards it, our self-talk with it. And now we'll talk about a really cool way here to embrace our stress, that challenge response and nerves, and really just freaking rock it whenever these sort of high pressure, high stress, high nerves moment come into your life, whether that's on the sports field, in the business room, as a parent, making a presentation, whatever the case may be. So Allison Wood Brooks is a researcher at Harvard Business School. She studies the most effective strategy for dealing with acute stress. And so first, let's do a little test, you at home, right? Imagine that you need to give a big presentation in front of a bunch of people. Your heart immediately starts to pound for the days and the mere thought of this talk, right? Palms are sweaty, all that stuff that comes up. What should you tell yourself? What self-talk would you have? Should you try and calm down, or should you try and feel excited? What is your self-talk like in that moment when, again, your palms are sweaty, your knees weak, your arms are heavy? When Allison asked this question to hundreds of people, the responses were basically unanimous. 91% said that that the best advice was to try and calm down. So that's what they thought, calm down. Well, that's absolutely not what the research shows. Get this. So Allison brought people into her lab and gave them a super stressful test. She made them give an impromptu speech, something that has been proven to be very, very good at eliciting very high levels of stress, right? People seem to be more afraid of public speaking than death. And so everyone's told they have to give a speech. The normal stress response kicks in. She instructs half of them to say to themselves, "I am calm." The other half were instructed to say, "I am excited." Guess what? The I am excited group way outperformed the group that tried to calm themselves down. Why is that? Because anxiety and stress and nerves are what scientists call a high arousal state, while being calm is a low arousal state. It's almost impossible to shift from high arousal state of fear, anxiety, whatever it is, immediately, boom, into a calm state. It's like cruising 80 miles an hour and slamming onto the brakes. Just not a good idea. Much wiser approach, as we've learned from the research, is to take all that fear energy and simply reframe it as excitement, channeling it into a positive, constructive direction, and effectively pressing go on the accelerator rather than stop. And I'm excited is a shockingly simple way to make that happen. So, back to self-talk. What do you say to yourself when you're feeling your heart race before a big event? Time to get excited. Try it. When you feel your nerves kicking into high gear, think of this episode and smile, channeling that inner energy, that inner rock star into going out and freaking crushing it by saying, "I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm excited." That's huge. If you only get one idea out of that episode, let it be that one. It will absolutely change the way you feel when you step into a high pressure, high stakes environment where you're feeling nervous energy. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. And we're moving on. Knowing that our infinite potential exists on the other side of our comfort zone, we need to learn that rather than just try and avoid it altogether. We have to embrace that. We need to see those moments when our heart skips a beat and our palms start to sweat as the gifts that they are. They're certainly the tickets to our destiny, and we have to step up to the plate in those moments, which leads us really to the final tool of this episode. It's simple and effective, just like I'm excited, and it has something to do with how we talk to ourselves. We're not listening to ourselves, we're talking to ourselves. We're directing ourselves in this moment and taking control of the things that we do have control over, like I'm excited. And so the next time, again, you're feeling an inkling of a fear, of doubt, practice saying to yourself, "Bring it on." Knowing that your infinite potential exists just on the other side of your comfort zone. And very importantly, know that you don't need to go a mile outside of your comfort zone. Just get in the habit of going an inch outside your comfort zone. Every single time you feel that whisper of fear, that whisper of doubt, get in the way of you doing something that you really want to do. Get in the habit right now of reminding yourself that this is the opportunity to get a little stronger as you say to yourself, bring it on. Bring it on is the epitome of accepting the challenge. Something magical will happen when we do this. In fact, science says that we fundamentally change on a physiological level by inviting the challenge into our lives. We move from what researchers call a threat response to a challenge response, which we've talked about this whole episode. And when we do that, our entire bodies change. So thinking about putting all of this stuff together, when we fear, we have anxiety, we have doubt, we have nerves, and we want to just inch past our comfort zone and keep writing those tickets to our destiny, keep writing those tickets to becoming the absolute best version of ourselves. We take control of our self-talk. We don't listen to ourselves. We talk directly to ourselves and we say, bring it on. I'm excited. And then we go out and crush it each and every time, moment to moment to moment to moment to moment, to see how good we can actually be and see what really optimizing our full potential really looks like. So bring it on. I'm excited. And thank you, as always, for tuning into this episode. The absolute best way to support this podcast is by sharing this episode with a friend, someone you think might enjoy it. I appreciate you very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers. Thank you very much for tuning into that episode. And if you enjoyed it, click right here for another full-length episode of the podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, above all else, please take good care of yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love. Cheers.